There are multiple aspects that go into a functioning society. A civilization is started when a group of like-minded people that share similar goals and beliefs migrate to an area that has available food, water, and materials for shelter. They develop a community together. Once they are established, a system is in place in regards to socioeconomic levels, use of resources, functionality, development of culture, and use of education. We have seen over time the incorporation of ancient laws and rules of hierarchy that develop and evolve civilizations into what we see today. We discover as humans what is important and necessary in order to make it through and survive while still living a good and meaningful life. Balance is a necessity for both systems in place for things like work, education, and government, while also incorporating basic life support. Ancient China, although is very different from current-day China's geography and location, is occupied by different temperatures and climate zones. It is filled with rivers, coasts, mountains, valleys, forests, and it is a prime spot for resources and growth. Its earliest civilization was developed around a fertile region located near the Yellow River, and it is one of the world's first 4 ancient civilizations. The most historic mark of trade was the Silk Road, where China exported teas, salt, spices, sugar, and porcelain. A lot of their imports were luxury goods and materials that were used for war and also an influence and change in their culture later on. The Silk Road was a huge significance during that time, where it linked the Western world with the Middle East and Central and Northern Asia. Ancient China was ruled and established by a monarchy, having emperors and kings that were based off of a family line. Dynasties enforced a strict bureaucratic rule, and a social hierarchy was in place. It existed as a paramount where government officials, emperors, merchants, farmers, peasants, and slaves were all in their existing roles. The cultures and beliefs were made up of Confucianism, Taoism, and Buddhism. These incorporated different philosophies and religion, creating a change of culture during the ancient times. Education existed only for the rich and the male gender and slowly evolved, while it later incorporated religious beliefs. There were ideas and acts of how to work in society. Rome started as a small village around the Tiber River, far enough inland from the sea, and had a great source of fresh water from the Mediterranean. The farmland was rocky, so it depended majorly on trade through roads and ships. The Roman state or empire was driven by its people and its land that military conquered. Military expansion is what drove the state's economic development, historically led by Augustus Caesar and followed by other proclaimed emperors. Ancient Rome is known for its streak of undefeated conquests, covering Italy, Spain, Greece, and the coast. It spread quickly by its strength of military force. The increased state taxes funded the army and contributed to the architecture that we see and know today, making it one of the greatest empires of ancient times. The religious culture of ancient Rome followed the belief of multiple gods and goddesses before the spread and influence of Christianity and the church took over. They believed in cooperation with the gods. It was possible to take on opposing forces. The rise of Christianity spread in small groups. It was fueled by the breadth of Roman Empire, spreading their faith through trade routes and starting in the city center, which was Rome. The government was made up of a single person, an emperor, so the Roman state was governed by autocracy. They developed a senate where political power created the Roman Republic. They created 12 laws of Rome, where it suggested that citizens were to be treated equally before the Republic. The Romans required an import of variety of materials in exchange. They traded silver and gold, which are typically used for luxury items, or materials for war weapons. It is a culture known for a mix of arts and historic architecture that was very influential of its time. Many traditions surrounded religion and food. education was based around social status, where the poor didn't typically learn to read or write. It was aimed to enhance a person's body, mind, art, and soul. Readings, writings, and the Roman numeral system and military training were all components of early education institutions. The main similarity between ancient Rome and ancient China was their major dependence on military force. This is how the civilizations grew and functioned, and fueled their economic power. They shared similar techniques and methods for conquest and military tactics, and China was also influenced by the trade of silver and gold by Rome on the Silk Road, establishing their territories by war. The two civilizations were connected. There were beliefs and alterations in cultures, where they were each influenced along the trade routes through merchants and travelers. Although the rules of the governments and beliefs were different, the harsh domestic repercussions for its citizens and traders were the same. Differences include geological location. China had more resource availability, whereas Rome depended more on trade for a lot of its resources. Rome had a large inland land related to the Sea of the Mediterranean for ease of trade and travel. While constructed roads made land travel and communication possible, China was a land-based empire. River travel, canals, roads had to be built and maintained for transportation and communication. There was also differences in religions, beliefs in gods, where Christianity played a major role in Rome, and China shared different religious beliefs such as Buddhism. Living in the 21st century and learning about ancient civilizations puts life into perspective of how things came to be today. Learning from history what worked and what has failed, how we can take past experiences and change things for the better. Comparing ancient civilizations, there are a few key aspects that are considered to serve greatness when compared to ancient times. The creation of a government or some type of system is seen both currently and during ancient civilization times. It is essentially how a population is under control and how well it can function with things like democracy and laws in place. There are a lot of tactics used in early governments and systems in place around the world that exist today, where freedom is a big part of the 24th century that was not typically seen back in the early days. There were many dynasties, monarchies, oligarchies in place of ancient times, and it was based on your socioeconomic level that dictated your community role in society. There are many similarities in today's government, where democracy is seen more often, but laws and rules of society have evolved and freedom is a major factor. For example, the role of women have in society changed from having absolutely no input at all to almost living equally to others today. War is also a big component, also related to government. It is looked at today which country has the most useful materials for war and serve as a more powerful in comparison to other countries. Similarly to ancient times, the more resources and materials a civilization had, the more powerful they were. Civilization was able to migrate and conquer based on successful battles to acquire more land, resources, and control. Major wars and conflicts over time helped create the world that we live in today and impact the greatness of society that we live in today. One other major component would be the use of resources and sustainability. Ancient civilizations would base economics on their agriculture. Back then, people would migrate to unknown areas in search of the best land that offered many possibilities and benefits. The evolution of ancient population was based on several differences and natural causes of their environment. In today's century, sustainability of the resources that we have available is a major issue. The ability to preserve it has become one of the bigger issues that we see today. Most of the world and its resources are discovered, and populations already keep growing, so it becomes more difficult to manage and save energy, whereas it wasn't much of a concern to ancient civilizations.